All right, y'all, give me 2 seconds. I'm sending this out online, so just give me a moment or two, and we're gonna get into everything real soon. Now, thank you guys for tuning in live. I appreciate each and every one of you. As I move over to the live stream and you guys see me, you will be able to see me and access me on YouTube. All right. So I believe my mic is on. I believe everything is set up. All right. So we got about an hour. You guys got an hour with me. Welcome to live. Thank you so much for tuning in. I see some of you guys starting to pop in here. Very, very grateful. Thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you. So as this full process starts, I want to really get into a couple of different things. This is for me personally. So I'm not saying that everybody has to do it this specific way. I don't think that everyone has to do it this specific way, but this is the way that I'm going to do it. And I'm going to give you guys like the full mindset of like my estate plan, retirement, and how it all connects, how all this different type of stuff connects. And I think this might be one of the last videos that I kind of do on this, or at least publicly. But ultimately, y'all, is you need the passport, okay? Okay, and then 2, which is that's going to be your ID. All right, that's your identification. All right, so that's your ID. The passport would be the ID. Okay. Now let's also get into this too as well. Let me see. Let me see if I just want to make sure I'm live on here. Oh yeah. So all right. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. All right. So let's get into this. So the passport is going to be your ID. It's not going to be a license or anything like that. There's going to be other things that you can do too. So your birth certificate or certificate of live birth, certificate of live birth, which is the COLB. So that's ultimately what I would say is a certificate of live birth, birth certificate. I would say authenticate those. Okay. Authenticate. So authenticate means that you have a third party agree that you're a living being. Okay. Because to them, to governments, they don't think that you exist. You're a number or a name or something like that. So you have to give them that. You have to put them on notice and tell them, hey, I'm living. And you do that through proof, through having 1-2 parties show up and say, okay, this person does exist. I am a witness to this person. So you want to authenticate the birth certificate. So the birth certificate's a bond, and that is already between trustee and executor, etc. You're the beneficiary because your name's on it. So all of the private money is yours. All of the stuff that the birth certificate is written or the monetary value that's made from it, that's yours. Okay. But you ultimately have to just step into that role, and nobody really steps into that role. And that's why everybody lives the victim mindset that they do. Okay. So what you do is you authenticate this. So now, for instance, you also want to get something that is not a Hague Convention. So non-Hague Convention. So we have a Hague Convention, and we have a non-Hague Convention. I'm not going to get into this right now, but I want you guys to know that a non-Hague Convention means like Ethiopia, Egypt, somebody like this is a tertiary party and says, okay, this is a living being, and they can go here. And as well as when I have my birth certificate authenticated, I can use that money to be able to travel while I'm in those types of countries. So if I'm I'm traveling to different countries and I have my birth certificate authenticated, I can use the funds from that birth certificate, even though it came from another country, because I had this country agree that I exist as a living being and can use those private funds. That's pretty much all you're saying. It's really easy to do. It's not too difficult to do. Let's keep going. All right. So the passport is the ID. The birth certificate is you're going to get authenticated. You can as well get it apostilled or apostilled, whatever you guys want to say. But apostilled, you can get it apostilled. Okay. And then authenticated. So this is Hague Convention, and this is non-Hague Convention. So I would say apostille it, and then authenticate it, and then you're set. You don't ever have to do it again. That's what this topic should be named. You never have to do this process again once you do it. So that's the thing too, is you have one process to do. All right. You only have one process that you're supposed to do. It's not difficult. So birth certificate, passport. Now we're going to go secured party or SPC. SPC, which is a secured party dash creditor. So it's either a secure party or a creditor or secure party creditor. You could say either one. But if I refer to creditor, I'm referring to a secure party. If I refer to a secure party, I am referring to a creditor. Or if I just say it all, it's the same thing. That's what puts the IRS on notice. That's what puts other governmental entities on notice, other corporations on notice, and you just tell them who you are. That's all you're doing. So with this process is when you do the SPC, you're going to fill out certain forms like the F56 form, or you're going to do the W8 bin form. Okay. A W9 potentially. You're going to do, you'll have schedule fees, as well as you can do exhibit A or exhibit. Okay. What else? I know there's a bunch. You're going to have your copyright. You're going to copyright your name. Okay. Common law copyright. So that's what you're going to do, as well as you're going to have like you're going to have a multitude of different things. Now, these two forms specifically is how you connect to the private banking aspect. All right. The private banking aspect is this. You don't realize how wealthy you already are and how you never really actually need to work again. And they're using your funds to fund the whole thing. Okay. So the F56 form is a fiduciary relationship form. Who is the fiduciary? All right. And so when you fill this out a specific way, when you fill out the W8 bin a specific way, you're tax exempt. So you're tax exempt. You have the non-citizen national passport. So I'm a national, okay, or a state citizen in their terms. And then 2, I'm tax exempt. Okay. And because I'm tax exempt, I don't pay taxes. Okay. And I'm not taxed when I go to the store. I don't have insurance. And what I would do is I would carry a 1099-A on me. Okay. I'd carry a 1099-A on me. And that would be what I would carry as insurance while not driving, because you're not driving. Driving is a commercial meaning commerce, or in terms of money, or the public. So public commerce is what they're referring to as. We're talking about living privately. We're talking about what is actually happening that nobody is actually seeing, or the majority of people are not seeing. That's really all we're talking about. Okay. So you'll fill out your exhibit A, you'll fill out your common copyright. All right. I would say get American jurisprudence. So get American jurisprudence. So get AMJUR. That's what we call it. AMJUR, American jurisprudence. That's going to help you with the law. Get a Bill of Rights, or get a Constitution, get a Declaration of Independence. They're $5 on Amazon. Okay. And 2, you can become tax exempt on Amazon, at Walmart, at Target, anywhere, and all these different places, because you are above it. You're beyond it. You oversee it. That's what people don't get. Is there the reason why you're mad at the person you're mad at in your head? I'm talking about like what you call billionaire elites or whatever. The reason why is because they're doing what they're doing, and people don't get why they're doing what they're doing, and they don't know what they're doing, is what I'm saying. They don't know how to do what they're doing. And I'm not saying the way that they act. I'm saying the way they do commerce. If we were to do commerce the proper way, we would not be upset, because you would realize that you are literally a 400 billionaire, that you already have $400 billion in your name. You already have $300 million in your name. Okay. And you have to study liens. You have to study the stuff that you think is boring. You have to be willing to go through the stuff that you think is boring to get to the stuff that you're like, these are some gems. You have to be willing to separate yourself from the pack. You have to be willing to separate yourself from the sheeple. You have to be willing to separate yourself. All right. You have to be willing to stand alone. You have to be willing to do better than you used to be. Okay. So that's what I would say is Constitution, get a Declaration of Independence, Okay. Etc. All right. Now, 2 is now you have your passport. Okay. You have your birth certificate. This lasts for 10 years. That's 5 more years than your license, by the way. So you guys are lazy. You guys don't want to, renew stuff. Get a passport then. Just do it the correct way. Birth certificate, do it the correct way. Once it's certified, like literally once it's certified, authenticated, certified apostille, and everything like this, you don't have to do it again. You just have to keep the copy and then just send a copy of it. That's like literally all you technically have to do. Like there's so little that you actually have to do in the process, but nobody's willing to do the process. And that's the crazy part. Okay. That's what blows my mind the most. Okay. So we're going to get into this. The F56, and I already have some videos on this, so I'll keep this as like simple as I possibly can. But when you become the SBC, so when you're an SBC and you're a state citizen, all right, when you're an SBC state citizen, you're a secured party creditor state citizen. So that means that you have access to private funds, as well as you're not considered a public entity or public franchise. So what you would do is you would set off everything that used to happen in that all caps name. Okay, I'm not going to over confuse it because people need to study it for themselves. Now, if you have questions, I'll answer those, but I'm going to just remain silent. Okay, but say you're an SBC and a state citizen, both. All right, so you're both. The thing about this is that this is tax exempt. This is operating private funds. Okay. And so when you start to get, and then 2, like let's say that you have a private EIN, a 98 number, but you're already going to do a 98 number here because that's going to be a part of the declaration of trust. You're going to get a 98 foreign grantors number. You're going to get all these different things as a secure party creditor because then you'll be able to do a 98 bank account. All right. You ready? We're going to get to it. Now you guys actually want to talk because now this is like what people will do for normal business. See, I talk about the stuff that people don't even really necessarily know, and then it ties right into the mediator, but not enough people are willing to listen just yet. So this is what I'm saying. The 98 bank account, you go to your bank account or you get a 98 number with the IRS first and foremost. That's the private, okay? Then you would go to a bank and you would literally get a 98 number, or you don't even have to do that. But let's say you do that. You'd have a phone number, maybe a place where the person works or whatever, or the individual works or whatever. You don't even have to do so much of stuff like this. But like, let's say that this 98 number also has a life insurance policy in the trust, has multiple assets, etc., that can all be borrowed against. So now the bank knows that, well, this trust has at least $200,000 or, $1 million in it or $800,000 in it, whatever it is. And so it's like, well, we can borrow against that and we can utilize that and cultivate that. So then that will help you and you invest in assets. And so you technically never even spend the money. All you did was just diversify the money and amplify and expand the money. That's all you did. So the 98 number is what will get you the bank account. Now for trading, this is what I do. So like when you trade and then you have 5 accounts, when you trade and you have 5 accounts and then you make $1,500 on each account, and then you just made $7,500 or something like that, that goes directly into your bank account. Okay, that goes directly into your bank account. And because that goes directly into your bank account, 7,500 will be times that. That goes into your 98 account. That literally is not a taxable event because this is literally going into an account that's already private. See, but if you moved it to other accounts, it would try to or want to be taxed. It needs to be taxed because it's not private. So that's what I'm saying. So when it is private, all of this goes right into here, tax-free. That's exactly what I'm saying. Okay. And then 2, this is the separate distinction between the living being and the all caps name on paper. Okay. The all caps name on paper. And this is proof. This is my identification of such things, as well as you would have an SBC. You have an SBC, ID. So I always say carry like 3 or 4 IDs. And the reason why is because the more IDs, the better, because people respect identification, especially if they all look the same or similar. So SBC, that gives all of your creditor paperwork, your trust, all right, your ministry, all right, your dot number. Now you'll want to talk. So this is what I'm saying. You can use a US dot number. Okay. You can do a US dot number as a minister. Okay. And then you can go through that. And then that car will be it'll be under the ministry, but the ministry is under the trust. The SBC is the controlling interest of the trust. See what I'm saying? And will pass down ownership or nobility to their son or the heir or their daughter or the heir. You know what I'm saying? That's exactly all you're doing. But people don't know enough how to stand up enough to be a king or a queen, realizing that's what a father or a mother really is, if you really see it. Okay. So let's keep going. Let's keep going. All right. So bank account. So you're going to have that 98 number for the bank account. So all the time that you make money, you're moving that into your bank account. And that is a non-taxable event. Okay. That is also within the trust, and that's going to acquire and build the trust. So then the trust, anything with this bank account can also start to build and cultivate into other assets. So when you keep making profits, you're going to invest, that trust will invest in like down payments to purchase real estate, down payments to purchase land, down payments to acquire assets. You see what I'm saying? It's so much easier to be able to maneuver and live your life because of what you're truly doing and how you're truly operating. All right. So the state citizen is the living being. The U.S. corporation franchisee, or the all caps name, is the straw man. It's a pass-through entity. It's a transmitting utility, and you're just using that transmitting utility as a living being. And by SBC, you are making that distinction lawfully. So then in court, they already know, oh, there's a specific distinction between the living being and the all caps name that we've differentiated between those. We know that. We know that they're different. Even though that this one was made similar to that, or because of this person, that doesn't mean that they're actually the same person. So that's exactly what I'm saying. And then the authentication of the birth certificate or certificate of live birth, the reason you do that is because that will make it equivalent to the original, because an authentication is that you're showing up with witnesses or with a witness. And so that is telling them, hey, there's a living being here. And so they see what commerce is actually happening, not just what they make things look like. So it's a little bit more complicated and whatnot, but it's very powerful. Like when you actually start to realize like the full thing of the SBC process. All right. As well is, let's keep going. So now we'll talk about the dot number, the trust, the ministry. We'll kind of get into that. All right. And as well as with trading, you can trade with an EIN. So you can do the 9-8 and you can trade as that trust. All right. So the US dot number. All right. So one good person to go through this is Nicholas Sedlock. You guys can check him out on Instagram, just Nicholas_Sedlock, really easy. Okay. But ultimately a US dot number, he does different types of things for this, like, inquiries. And so let's talk about this. First and foremost, you're going to surrender stuff from the DMV. All right. So you're going to surrender your license. All right. You're going to surrender your file. Really. You're gonna clear your file. First, before you do that I've heard is that you want to change your address to like a PO box, even if you only use it for like one time or like 1 month. And during that month that you get a PO box, you go to the DMV, close it, or you change the address to that PO box and then you close it. That's what I would say to do, because that would also clear everything, because the PO box is private. Okay. And then two, with that, then you close it. They're not going to be able to, it's just there's a specific way to do this. All right. So now when you do it this way, all right, you are also, you don't have to, same with mailing, when you are like going to the post office. Okay. When you're going to the post office, you technically don't have to do stamps, because stamps are just for U.S. citizens, but you do need to put them on notice of the codes and everything that will send those things through. So then they know this one passes through, this one passes through, this one I get, this one passes through. The postmaster will get it. Okay. The postmaster will get it. The master of that post. All right. So that's what you're going to do. You're going to do it that specific way. You're going to get your US dot number. You'll file it a specific way. All right. You'll file that a specific way. And that will be your plates. All right. And that will be in a ministry or as a ministry or as a minister. Okay. And then that minister that car is going to be in the trust or in the ministry, and in the ministry is within the trust. So you can do it like that too as well, which is within the 9(8) trust. That's what I'm saying. Okay. And then so you're going to have a US dot number connected to that. So then when they're trying to track your stuff, you'll have, flags, you'll have your ministry, you'll have your binders, you'll have all these other different types of things that put them on notice, but you also put them on notice. Why? So then, you don't have insurance, but what insurance could you carry? You can carry the 1099A. So that's what I'm saying is that you could, it's acquisition of abandonment or acquisition, abandonment of property. That's what it is. So you're either acquiring or abandoning. That's all you're doing. And there's a specific way to do that. So that's exactly what you can do. And you can cover the car, yourself, or anything else because of those funds. All right. And because you're an SBC, you have access to that. That's where the SBC comes in. So the 1099A. All right. So a lot of people, you guys need to study your ABCs, your 1099A, your 1099B, your 1099C, cancellation of debt, brokerage, and then this one's acquisition or abandonment of property. So 1099. All right. You can also study the OID. You can study those 1099 OID. You can refer to Christopher Hauser. Like I said, disclaimer to everything because a lot of people will agree or disagree or whatever just immediately because of biases or whatever. But you guys have to do your due diligence. Do your due diligence. See through, what they try to tell you. All right. So let's keep going. So the SPC process is, directly connected that we made that specific distinction, the separation between a living being. And so you are also securing a lien over that of the U.S. debtor or the all caps name, which they have equated a basic minimum wage of around $650,000 that they can give you a minimum wage, but they can't ever tell you a maximum wage. So they can't tell you how much you're worth. They can only tell you how little they think you're worth. That's all. So that's what I'm saying. And so that's the big thing too. So the SPC process specifically really makes that distinction clear, and you are clear of it. And then too, there's bond notes in your name. So there's plenty of bonds, plenty of things like this where you can do like an FOIA, so a FOIA, where you can acquire information, Freedom of Information Act. That's why it's a FOIA. It's a Freedom of Information Act. You send something to somebody and say, I need this information because I am the beneficiary of this, or I'm the account holder or whatever, something like that. Okay. So the 1099A, 1099B, 1099C, 1099 OID, there's different things like this. Okay. And a multitude of things. There's even trust, like a 1099R is a trust. I'm still learning too. I'm not perfect. I don't believe that I know it all. Okay. I'm just saying I know enough, and this is what has helped me. All right. So like what I'm referring to is like you would change this to a PO box or something private. You would surrender the license. For me, it's like a 142. You would close the 142 with the paper and whatnot, close the file and the license. All right. You'd have your passport, non-citizen passport at that time. You would do that same exact thing where you'd either send authenticated birth certificate or certificate of live birth or your passport as well. And you'll get your US dot number in that ministry because you'll say, I'm a minister. You'll send them proof that you're a minister. You'll send them proof of all these different types of things. So then they'll issue a US dot number. You'll put that on your car, and that is tax exempt. You're going to have a tax exempt number when you go to the store. You're not going to. So when you go to the store and your thing was $400, okay, it was $400, but you have to pay a tax of like $58 or something like that, or like you see what I'm saying, or like $45 or something like that. If you have to do that, that's going to add up. So like, let's say if it was just $400 flat because it was $400 flat because you're tax exempt, it's just $400 flat. Like everything that I buy here is just $400 flat. So it's way different because then that extra $40 is not being spent and being equated. Where is that going? Assets, investments, developments, real estate, accumulating more money, okay? Stuff like this. And it has nothing to do with money. It's not about being greedy. It's about going beyond, all right? It's about going beyond. So this is the way to do it, all right? What else? What else? So I would say that if you're an SPC, you're already in the proper jurisdiction. So the SPC is what you want to be, the secured party creditor state citizen, or secured party state citizen. That's what you want to be. You want to be secured party state citizen with proper, proper documentation. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to overcomplicate anything. I'm not trying to make anything difficult. That's all I'm saying. All right. That's all I'm saying is, and then, like I said, you never have to do this again. You don't have to surrender your license again. You don't ever have to change but think about like how much you've gotten yourself into the matrix. And then you don't think that there's going to be some effort, some work to get yourself out. That's delusional. So you have to look at yourself and say, okay, I have some work that I have to do, and I have to be willing to do that work, even if it was someone else who put me in this situation or this predicament. But it's not a dilemma. A dilemma is something you can't get out of. It's a predicament. Okay, it's a predicament. It's something that is difficult and you don't want to do, so you put it off and you procrastinate. But this is like what you need to do. It's not that crazy too. Once you do it, it becomes easier and easier and easier and easier. You don't have to authenticate the birth certificate or COLB again. You don't have to authenticate the marriage license again, or the marriage document again, or the private birth record, or the private marriage, record, et cetera, et cetera. You don't have to do stuff like that again. As well as you don't have to get an IUL again. You don't have to get a trust again. You don't have to declare your trust again. You don't have to file an F56 ever again. You don't have to file a W8 BIN ever again. You don't have to file any of these things ever again. You'll put them on notice, and that's all you really have to do. And you would be able to uphold yourself. That's what I'm saying. That's really what it is. And eventually you could do and live life how you actually truly want. But now we're playing the victim mindset where we're just like, I don't want to do these things because I just don't want to do them, or I want to put them off or whatever. That's what is doing yourself a disservice. So do it, put the work in, develop yourself, cultivate yourself, strengthen yourself in this process, and watch yourself take off. Watch yourself acquire more wealth than you've ever had. Be the fittest that you've ever been. Be the happiest you've ever been. Be the most, physically inclined, spiritually inclined, mentally, emotionally inclined that you could possibly be, and continually keep growing into your better and better selves. All right. I think that's pretty much it. I'll do a little conclusion, just to keep it kind of professional, but I want you guys to see this. All right. So the process is that there's bond notes for everything. Getting a diploma is a bond. Okay. It's tertiary party, third party saying this person did this amount of work through these types of people who had these types of credentials, had these types of accreditations, etc. That's all it is. That's all it is. It's just third party people just telling you what they like and don't like about you, what they think about you and what they don't. And what we certify, what we put down on certifications or documentations or diplomas or licenses or whatever, they're bonds, it's businesses, they're all businesses. And so when you know how to do business, you can do business better. Okay. Or you can do business corrupt and be a POS, but I wouldn't advise that. I wouldn't advise that. I would just say what you can do is you can actually do business correctly. And now because you're given that opportunity, you can use that. Can utilize that, especially with how youthful and young, with the fountain of youth that you have. If you get this done before 30, before 35, you're going to be living like large life, bro, like a large life. And I'm referring to like, you're going to not only have a substantial amount of knowledge, a substantial amount of wisdom, okay, but you're also going to be able to help people do this process, help you do this process, guide yourself through this process, help others do this process, and see and watch the world take off. Like see like how people are just ignited by you. All right. Like literally ignited by you. Peace, love, namaste, shalom aleichem, peace be with you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed my short live. But ultimately this is exactly the basic process. It's nothing overcomplicated. You authenticate the birth certificate, okay, through Ethiopia. All right. Used to be Jamaica. You could do Jamaica as the apostille and then do Ethiopia as the authentication. I would do it that way. Number 2, you're going to get your non-citizen passport. You're going to file it a specific way with an explanatory statement that you're a natural living being and you were born in one of the 50 states, one of the several states of the Union of the United States of America. If you guys need help with this on either of those, that's available. Number 3, you're going to do the secure party creditor process. Cultivate your own private trust. You want to build a trust? I can help you do that. Yes, it costs money, but you also have a credit card or can inquire for a credit card for $1,000, $1,500, $2,000. So it's not that the money's not there. The money is there. You just have to utilize it and you have to invest it better, invest it differently. Let's build your life. Let's cultivate your life. Like investing $500 to get yourself to a level where you don't have to think about money again. I would spend the $500 with, I won't even blink an eye. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying is I would start to make better decisions. That's all I would do. And like, yeah, it might look on the outside like you're, oh, this is diminishing or this is lowering it or this looks bad or this doesn't look right or whatever. But imagine like that you throttle yourself so far that you just exponentially take off. Like it's on purpose. It's to show that God is guiding you through you. It's really to show like there's evidence for people specifically in your immediate life. That's all it is. It's not for everyone. Everyone's not going to see it, but it will be for the immediate people. And that will give you some sense of satisfaction, grace, peace, mercy, joy, and that you're seen and heard, that you know that they see you, that they know that you're anointed, that they know that you're ordained by God, something like that. So that's exactly what I'm saying. Okay. Now, so secure party creditor process, and then you do the DMV stuff, but that's a little bit before too. There's really not much else after that. Build a business, cultivate your tax exemption, but that's all through W8 Ben. You're going to do all that through the secure party creditor. There's only like 2 or 3 things that you really need to do. Okay. There's only like 2 or 3 like big moves that you need to make and you're set. So peace, much love, namaste. See you guys in the next one. All right.